face of the team last year. Obviously, he was a big part of that.
Yep.
Like, does that kind of bake into as you guys went through this process?
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those things factor in. Teo, the performance speaks for itself. His ability to hammer left-handed pitching in what is a heavy left-handed lineup is a really good compliment. And then you start to layer in the teammate, the intangibles, like his ability to slow the game down in the biggest moments. We saw it time and time again. So, it's kind of baking in all of those things. Clubhouse favorite, fan favorite, player, all of it. Then it's like, okay, this is something that we really want to make happen. And like I said during the presser, like having those conversations with Graf all along, it's just like getting to that point where understanding like what's important on both sides, and we got there, and excited to have Teo back.
When you look at just the pieces you've retained and added this offseason, like, do you guys kind of feel like you've upgraded the roster, been able to do that to this point of the winter from even where it was last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think having a full season of Tommy and then adding Conforto and Snell to the mix, obviously, and then bringing some of the pieces back that we did, we feel good about where the team is. We feel like we're probably even better than we were going into last year. So that's the goal. I mean, I think we won it. It's really hard to win it. It's even harder to repeat. And reloading and putting out an even better team to try to do it again, and knowing that our fans are super excited and supportive is really important. So making sure we do right by them is really important to us.
Did you expect negotiations to kind of be at the pace that they were, or was that just sort of byproduct of obviously his market was a lot deeper than it was last year and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think because of the relationship and just it wasn't ever like oh, this is taking so long. It was like, hey, we're gonna like continue to work through this, and the biggest thing that we needed to do was make sure that everybody was in a good place with where we landed, and that's the most important thing. And the pace of it, we said the goal was always to bring it back, and we got there.
Was there ever a point where you wondered if it might not happen?
I mean, you never feel like overly confident, but I think the biggest part was we stayed in steady communication, so it never hit a panic factor, put it that way.
How much of an added layer of discussion or complication when you're trying to work in the deferrals and the signing bonuses into a lot of these deals you guys have done lately? Like, how much more complex does it make negotiations?
I mean, I think it's all about having the clarity on both ends of how it works, and using it as a piece to get to the end game of what each side's trying to accomplish. So we've done it with some frequency, and I don't think it's new if it is brought up as a lever to get a deal done. So it adds a slight complication, but not anything that I think overly complicates things.
Can we talk about the stuff that will become official at 2x2 and hold it until then?
Yeah, if you want to.
How does Hyeseong Kim fill it?
Yeah, I think you're talking about a double plus runner, a really good utility player that can play all over the diamond with some real upside to the bat. So, we saw him last year while we were in Korea and tracking him, and the ability to add somebody with that talent plus upside, I feel like it's a really good piece for us.
Is it something that, it's probably publicly a little more off the radar than some signings? Like, how much was this something that you guys kind of looked at coming into the winter as a guy you were targeting and thought was a realistic outcome?
I think it was hey, we really liked what we saw, or the scouting reports were obviously good, and then, over the last probably 3-4 weeks, started to gain a little more traction and think about how this could fit into what we're trying to do, and open those conversations up, and felt like, okay, this has some real traction to be able to do something, and we feel like where we ended up was really good for both sides.
Is there going to be anything where you have to give them more of a softer landing just because of the transition of the league and seeing how the bat sort of translates and everything like that?
Yeah, I think we'll see how, hopefully get them over here on the earlier end and get them working with our group, and get our hands on them to start that process. And obviously there's always some learning. It's not always linear, so there could be a learning curve, but we're perfectly fine with that, knowing that those other pieces that are in play are really strong.
Does this, I mean, people will start doing like roster map and stuff like this. Like, does this kind of indicate you guys might have to make another move to streamline some of the infield depth? Is it kind of add him and then see where the roster's at?
Yeah, I think it's more
spring?
like adding the a really talented player and kind of see where things play out. I don't know if you noticed our injuries last year, but it's helpful to have really strong pieces at a lot of different areas. So that's how we're viewing it right now. We don't feel like there's anything necessarily that we need to do.
What are you sort of targeting overall, just the rest of this winter? I'm sure, obviously, there's one starter that we know that you're linked to, but is there other stuff that you're kind of looking at? Or?
Yeah, I mean, kind of play those things out, see what what the reliever market looks like. We feel really good about our pen as is, but obviously it's an area that we'd always look to add, especially with the prices that relievers come with at the deadline. So being able to do as much work now would be advantageous for us. I think it's kind of playing those things out, and I'm sure you guys hate and are tired of me saying it, but just being opportunistic in a lot of different areas to try to add talent to the team.
When you say there's upside with Kim's bat, like, do you see changes that you can make there? What kind of upside do you see with him?
Yeah, I think there's ability to continue to add strength, and I think there's an approach standpoint and just some moves that our hitting group sees that we could make some adjustments to him. He already has really good bat to ball, which is a good foundation, obviously, and then being able to impact the ball a little bit more and ride out some off-speed pitches in a better way. So there's definitely some pieces there that we feel like we can address to tap into the upside.
Obviously, you guys are scouting him over there full time, but for like some of you guys who went on the trip last year to see him in person, like, does that make him a bigger target to change the evaluation any or?
No, it doesn't. I mean,
one
obviously,
game,
it was
but-
like it was eye-popping to watch the way he moved and what he did against us. I think that can be a real trap of scouting, where like, oh, I saw him, so I have an immediate bias. I think it's something we all try to, especially if you have like one look on a guy, to not let that outweigh anything. So, it's something we're cognizant of. I don't think it placed any more of an emphasis, but it was more like total package and kind of hearing from our scouts and coaches on what we think he could be.
How is Shohei's rehabilitation right now going on?
Yeah, he's progressing well and continuing to, check the boxes along the way. So he's in a good place, and we'll, keep seeing where he's at as we get closer to spring training.
Did he start hitting?
He's swinging. He's not hitting yet.
Are you able to
Dry
say?
swings.
Try swings.
Are you able to say if we're gonna have a second meeting with Roki?
Not able to say it this time. I hope so.
Thanks, Brandon.